This is The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Roadmap, exclusively here on ASBN.com. I'm Lee Heisman, and every week we bring you some of the brightest entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business owners who are climbing the ladder, scaling their businesses, and thinking about how one day to exit stage left. Today, I'm with a very good friend, Ryan Will, the CEO and founder of the Will Technology Group. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Lee. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about. It's
Absolutely.
been too long.
Yeah.
I have to drag you out to the studio to be able to hang out with you, which is wonderful. But I get to learn more and more about all you're doing and even the time that we've missed each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to get into a number of the successes you've had with some exits, some acquisitions of your businesses. But, the roadmap is about people that grow their businesses and eventually try to exit and go to that next phase of their life.
Yep.
You had an opportunity as you were CEO of the Commonwealth Telecom Services Group. And we're going to get into what happened to that firm, but talk a little bit about, some yellow flags, some red flags you had in your career, because you had that business and you thought you were a part of a firm that eventually didn't exit. Can you speak to our audience about what to look out for making sure these things go kind of the right way that they're supposed to go?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Lee, and I think the lesson to be learned there is don't ever trust anything that's not in writing, right? And I had a relationship with a firm that grew to be a very big firm, ultimately was sold in late 2009. I had set up Commonwealth in 2008 when I was about to exit corporate America for the first time. So I thought I got roped back in for about another 16 months and then did finally leave late 2009. And that is really when Commonwealth exploded. And along the way, instead of branding myself Commonwealth Telecom Services Group, several folks had decided to hang a shingle and brand themselves under that company's name. And I was, appointed as a founding partner there, and never thought that business was going to sell when it did in late 2019. But when it did, all along I had been told, hey, you're gonna be part of this thing. When this thing is over, you're gonna get a piece. And the piece I got was a phone call on a Sunday saying the business has been sold, and that was basically it. Now, I will tell you, all things work out for a reason. And I think that business was sold too early, and COVID soon happened after. And actually, in our business, COVID was an explosion on a positive side because the whole work from home happened. And from a technology perspective, that brought a whole new host of issues into businesses, big and small. And so luckily, I owned Commonwealth 100%. I owned all my clients. I owned all my partner relationships, vendor relationships. And I sit in front of you today very happy because a few years later, the market just exploded. Valuations exploded in our space. Private equity came in for the first time ever really in our space. And as we're sitting here today, the rest is history.
Well, so let's go back a little in history. First
Yeah.
off, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Not naming names, but the reality is get everything in writing. And for our audience out there, if you are looking to be a partner in a firm, get it in writing. Make sure you have legal counsel that's representing you on the front end to make sure you are a partner in an organization that if there is an exit, you're going to benefit from that exit. So Ryan, thank you for sharing that. You had a little bit of a situation where you learned from this experience, and not everything that's said is exactly true all the time. But
That's right.
Now go to Commonwealth, which
Yeah.
you actually recently went through a transaction where you did successfully sell 51% of this business.
I did.
Congratulations. Talk
Yeah.
about that process. Did someone approach you? Did you look for them?
Yeah, well, so our space has exploded with private equity. And I started getting phone calls, different organizations calling, and ultimately through a transaction that took about a year, last October, I was able to do a deal with Bridgepoint Technologies. It's a San Mateo, California-based company that is owned by Charles Bank, which is a private equity firm out of Boston, what I would call a large, mid-sized private equity firm. And so Commonwealth was on the table. I had been approached by several smaller private equity firms out of the Northeast. I had been approached by other companies looking to acquire Commonwealth. And it was a home run to do the deal with Bridgepoint and Charles Bank, without a doubt.
So, most people think, I'm selling a business is like I'm selling a mug or a car.
That's right.
Here's 100% of the business.
Yep.
Here's a check for the 100%. And then I just go walk away and go sit on a beach somewhere. But
That's
that
right.
isn't the case for most deals, let alone your deal. Can you talk, you don't need to talk numbers, but can you talk specifics about the structure of it that you sold 51%?
That's right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and there are various structures, right? And various structures that can be negotiated. In my situation, I didn't really want to sell. I probably could have sold more than 51%. The way the deal's structured is that there's a compound annual growth, a CAGR involved. The business has grown double digits CAGR since I founded it, so that's not a concern. But it enables me to take some chips off the table while continuing to grow the business over the next 3 years, and then have a 3-year exit strategy. And at that point, really determine what I'm going to do next. Fortunately, I'd already figured out what I was going to do next because I started another company while I was in parallel going through that transition. Because you never know, right? So many guys are knocking on your door. You're working with attorneys. To your point, we had one of the best telecom and technology attorneys in the country representing me outside of DC. Ramon, which is a major international law firm, represented me on the deal side. But nothing is done until it's done. And so Will Technology Group, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, was thought of and was founded, and in parallel was really launched through that whole process of selling the 51% of Commonwealth.
So and for people to understand there, as you're going through the process with the Commonwealth, Will Technology Group is a different entity
That's right.
than Commonwealth. It's focused on different aspects of technology. Is that correct?
It is. It's focused on what Commonwealth is focused on to an extent, but it's a lot more directly client focused, deep and wide. I mean, truly coming in and being able to help with almost everything under the sun technology, and leveraging a significant portion of Bridgepoint. One thing that the Bridgepoint acquisition does for me is it gives me a huge, 300 plus organization of engineers, and we can do business process outsourcing and all sorts of things, human capital, outsource call center work, things that we would have never done in the past. We'd have done more services related things. But so there's a lot more in the Bridgepoint umbrella that enables us within Will Tech Group to do a lot more things as well. But things like vCIO work, things that I have never really done before, I could have, but I wasn't ready to really go that route yet. And now, taking some chips off the table, maybe making investments over here and bringing in different partners, the timing was perfect.
So most people don't understand this. When they sell a business, again, you're not just getting a check and leaving. Not only are you still there incentivized to grow with a second bite of the apple or a third bite of the apple.
That's right.
But you also get more resources when you sell. It isn't just everything coming out of your pocket and your limited resources. How valuable has that been?
Oh, it's hugely valuable. And I would say that I was so bullish personally knowing my business and on the deal that I am a minority equity partner in Bridgepoint. I rolled a significant portion of my deal into equity.
Really?
Yeah. And I think, if you really do your homework, if you really know your business, and if you really want to capitalize on the deal, then you roll the dice. And I like to gamble. I mean, I used to gamble a little bit, but I'm gambling on myself too, right? And I know who these guys are acquiring. So, I felt bullish about that. But I mean, you gotta, somebody told me one time, for a deal to be perfect, each side has to feel like they got a good deal. If one side feels like they got a better deal than the other, I think we both exited our deal, consummating last October, thinking, hey, they got a great guy, a great leader, a guy that's got a great business. I felt like I've got a great deal, from an economic standpoint. But to really nail it on your point, I've got a huge engineering team behind me now that provides support across all layers of technology, from cybersecurity to network to UCaaS, et cetera. I've also now got a whole marketing team behind me. Things that as a small business owner, you can grow that if you want to grow it, organically internally yourself. You're going to have to, add on, and it's going to be a cost, right? Or you can bootstrap it and sort of do a lot of the different things yourself or with your own funds. But now with a deal like I've done, I mean, I've got all the support in the world. We can literally, and we do sell to Fortune 100 companies all the way down to one location, large, business or mom and pop businesses. I mean, it's everything in
So
between.
Ryan, I will tell you, and for our listeners out there and viewers, that is the key, and it's called arbitrage. And I'll tell you right now, when a business like yours, Ryan, is getting purchased for a certain multiple, a 4X, a 5X, a 6X, the buyers, the big PE firms, like Ryan just said, they're pulling together all the Ryans to sell already at a 10, 11, 12X. So Ryan taking equity in that firm is very smart, because no matter how much you grow, your organization is never going to grow as big as the bigger one that
That's
you've
right.
sold to. So it's
That's
a
right.
very, very smart move. So something I want to touch on as we kind of wrap this up, of course, is, in life, it's about a balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, and it's never really balanced. We call it the juggle, the work-life juggle, of course. And, when you started your businesses, I know how hard you work. I know how much energy and effort you put into your clientele, but you also had something happen a decade ago.
That's right.
With your daughter, Charlotte. And if you want to talk about that, how you've been able to still take care of your family, focus on them, and do all of the stuff you do. I'm going to leave it to you to share.
No, yeah. I mean, my wife, Laura, and I have 4 kids. We've got a 5th-year senior daughter at UGA. We've got a sophomore at North Georgia up in Athens, daughter as well. We've got a son who's a freshman in high school. And then we have Charlotte, who's a 6th grader, right? So she's in middle school now. But yeah, our daughter Charlotte was born with an extremely rare pediatric liver disease. It was a crazy decade, and it continues. But God willing, last February the 13th, when everybody was watching the Cincinnati Bengals LA Rams Super Bowl, Charlotte was getting a liver transplant, and she had spent at Children's Hospital here in Atlanta. She had spent a ton of time in and out of the hospital. She had various surgeries in her first 10 years of her life. Thankfully she was so young, so she doesn't remember so many of the different things. But yeah, it's a lot, and there becomes a point, I think, in your life that you become in touch with your own mortality. I'm not getting any younger. We went through so many things with Charlotte. And so I think timing with anything is extremely important. And yes, there's a growth in our business, in our world right now with PE firms coming in and all those sorts of things. But you have to know personally what's, I think, important as well. And for me, it wasn't a matter that I'm ready to just fully exit and retire, because I'm not there. Plus, I love the thrill of the hunt too much. So I'll be doing this stuff for a long, long time. But, you really have to be able to juggle a lot of different things. And with Charlotte, it just, I think, maybe made me more laser focused on everything I did in my life. To your point about juggling different balls, personal, professional. I mean, I coach, I volunteer, I'm part of a men's ministry in Montana. I give back my time during the summer. It takes a lot, but yeah, Charlotte is a huge reason probably for my focus. She's also a huge motivator for me, because she has been through so much in 10 and a half, 11 years of her life. It's one of the things, and all my kids motivate me, but she's definitely one of the things that keeps me going every single day.
Well, congratulations for not only your success here, but her success with that transplant.
Absolutely.
Now, I will wrap us up on this, and I do want people to get in touch with you, and I'm going to ask in a moment on that. But you talk about your family and your children, Charlotte, and even all of your children being your motivation. But I'd like you to take a moment, because you brought something with you.
I did.
And I'd like you to take a moment and read that, because you used to be in corporate America. And that impetus, or that moment which really motivated you for your life today came from
Laura, my wife. Yeah, I was in corporate America for about 11 or 12 years. I was a high flyer. I was moving up the ladder to probably a CEO level. My last major corporate job, I managed a $500 million a year for a publicly traded company, 500 employees in my region. And it literally got to the point where I got to the airport one day. My sister actually called me. She said, "Where are you going?" And I forgotten how to look at which plane ticket was in my hand, where I was going. And soon after that trip, I got home one morning, and there was a note on the sink. And it said, "I believe in you. You will be successful. Go with your heart, and the good will follow. I love you, Laura." And she knew I was at a crossroads in my early 30s of just had that entrepreneurial itch. And I would encourage anybody, if you are truly passionate about something and you feel like you can be successful, her words to them as well, follow your heart, you'll be successful. And she pushed me over the ledge, and thank God she did. And here I am almost 15 years later.
Well, I'm going to say great words of wisdom, number one. Number two, I'm going to say I'm encouraging you to find a spouse like his wife. So it isn't just believe in yourself, but to find a spouse like that is also, kind of that key ingredient. So Ryan, how do people get in touch with you if they want to reach out, learn more about your story, get in touch with you for work, just to get across anything with you?
Yeah, well, Ryan@willtechgroup.com is my best email, or rwill@bpt3.net is the Bridgepoint email. Those are the best. Email is always easy. My phone number is 678-507-9887. Feel free to call me. Don't spam me. I get so many spam calls now. But, either of those businesses, we'd be, thrilled. I'd be thrilled to talk to any person who's looking to exit a business, maybe get into a business, and any possible, client prospects out there.
Oh, my friend, great to see you
It's great
today.
to see you, Lee.
Mike, it's been too long.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us today. I hope the show was as insightful for you as it was for me. I'm always learning something new about this man. We hope to see you again next week on another episode of The Roadmap.
Thanks for watching The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.